Oops, Jesus. Let's rock and roll. Holla ballers and a bro fist to you all, for it is Wednesday, and Wednesday means only one thing. We roll up our sleeves of justice and we get ready for some workshops. Yes, we do. Workshops, let's get back on track, right? We've had our wine for the week. We've done our little moan. We've had our little cry. Everybody's having a little whinge. Now it is time to get back to serious business of making people better at this game and making you super guys awesome. Because Wednesday, of course, is reset day, which means we can learn a little thing or two before we go in and get our mad loots. Workshop is simple as you record yourself playing. Lots of free programs out there to use. You upload it to the YouTube, and then I watch it, and I give you some critique and maybe some things that could help you out in becoming a better player. It's really that easy. And then you email me and say, hey, here's my YouTube video. What you don't do is put it in a RAR file and send it to me. I'll zip it up. I'll try and send me QuickTime movies. That ain't gonna help. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen, okay? That's not gonna happen. I appreciate the effort and time that probably took, but it's actually reasonably quicker just to upload it to YouTube and send me the email with it, alright? It's just a little thing out there, We're gonna be looking at two things today from opposite ends of the coin. We're going to be looking at a Resto Druid, throwing out some hots, a returner to the game, a player who's been away for a long time and he's returned. He has taken up the mantle to play World of Warcraft again, and like an absolute boss is bypassing that LFR circle jerk of death and has got straight into raiding and is doing some normal Lei Shen. We're also going to be looking at an Unholy Death Knight. And this one's going to be heroic content. We're looking at a heroic progressing DK from the Unholy Sorts, who's wearing all sorts of cool gear, got all smashy up items, going to blow some gangsters up, doing max DPS. And we're going to see how that rolls around. Yeah, Unholy DK, woo! Unholy DK, wah! Now, the Unholy DK is a prominent member of our community, follows us pretty regularly, and has been kind of moaning for the last few weeks to get his workshop on here, so I'm going to go ham on it. That's right. If you keep asking me, I'm going to be a real picky bastard about the whole thing. Looking forward to that one. But first of all, we're going to be looking at our Resto Druid friend. Our Resto Druid friend, as I said, has returned to the game. He's come back and he started raiding again. He's doing okay, but he's running into all sorts of issues. Never really checks any of his own healing. It's kind of interesting, right? You don't really check, follows the damage done, and is also fulfilling roles that perhaps he shouldn't be doing. Something you wouldn't ordinarily ask. Very, very classic style of player. Very classic style of player from the past, who is aware of the importance of things like debuffs and buffs, aware of tracking things, but not really found his place in Mist of Pandaria and the style of play that's come along with the new expansion. He's got all this classic foundation, right? He knows all this stuff that he picked up in the past. I kind of suspect, I don't know if he's in the chat, did you play Feral for the longest time? I would expect that answer to maybe be yes, that you in fact were a Feral Druid. You might wonder, how do I know that? I can just get this feeling that you used to be a Feral Druid. That sort of sits with me from watching your video, is that you previously weren't a healer, you were actually a Feral Druid. But now you're playing Resto in one of the most balanced group setups I've ever seen which is always good. So we'll move that out of the way. Well, let's look at UI. You guys like looking at some UIs? Let's play some UIs. Boom! Go, Resto Druid friend. Resto Druid bro. Let me know what you think of this UI right here. Let's get into combat so you can see what's going on. So you can see how his healing is tracked. All that kind of good stuff. Good UI! Is this your video? You said good UI before I press play. Go, I suspect this is your video. Clean, efficient. Is it? Is it? Is it? Is it? Welcome to Mr. Ghost as well. Welcome to Mr. Ghost. Do we have any Resto Druids in the chat? No. When I say that, right, I don't mean alts. Okay? I don't mean that you have an alt druid who specs Resto for LFR. But there's kind of an issue. There's kind of an issue here. One of the big things about being a Resto Druid is, of course, tracking your HOTS. Making sure your HOTS are doing work, right? We want our HOTS to work for us. We want our HOTS to represent What we're not particularly doing with this UI is, yes, we are tracking our HOTS that are on the raid. What we're not doing particularly well, however, is tracking the HOTS on our tanks. Focus target is kind of vital, in my opinion, for any and all Resto Druids. Healers in general, especially if you're tracking things like Earth Shield, you can get away with a little bit, it lasts for a while. But what we're not really doing is tracking any of our HOTS on our tank. We're not doing that. What we can see is our HOTS are down there, but they're fidgety and small and they're out of the way, and that's going to cause us to do little bits of problems. And I don't like that for our tanks. It's kind of important as a Resto Druid, of course, to be maintaining all our HOTS on our tanks, right? Our HOTS do the work. Our HOTS don't work if people are full health. Our HOTS aren't doing shit, right? That's where your paladins have won. Your paladins are like, well, all I do is I do this and everybody's full health, right? Because I'm playing a skill class. Whereas we need our HOTS to be doing work. We need them to be doing business. Otherwise, it was pointless us casting them in the fucking first place, right? It was kind of shitty. And if we're not tracking those effectively, we kind of run into all kinds of problems. We kind of run into all kinds of issues. So these are going to be basic things we're going to be talking about for our Resto Druid. But this, again, reminds all healers. Really important. These are the same kind of rules you're going to be falling under with healers in general. What I don't like is when I do a workshop on, say, a Resto Druid, but it's a lot about the basics, and then people come back and say, can you do it for a shaman? Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same kind of thing. And so, first things first, as we get into gameplay, let's get straight into the gameplay. Is about 21 seconds in, we start off, we get in position, and we're looking pretty swobby. We're okay, we're looking gangsterish. We've got our position over here, we're nice and spread out. But you can see, it's just these little hot tracking over here is kind of rubbish. It's kind of shitty. Now, the big problem that our friend suffers from here is idle hands. We hate that, right? Idle hands healers, nothing to heal. And that's what you see in a lot of 5-mans, especially, is, I am here as a healer. Ergo, I shall do nothing more. I shall not contribute in any way whatsoever. I will just literally wait. And what happens is you keep falling down in the amount of healing done. And you just kind of derp around yourself. And that's what leads you to the ultimate error of healers, which is spamming really expensive heals. Because you delayed your process. You just let it linger. You let it carry on. And we can't do that because we're not prepared for anything that's going on in the fight. One of the big issues I have with this UI is the most important information is, in fact, the smallest. Yes, you have weakened armor on. Good job. This is vital for a healer, especially at Lei Shen. This tells you, next Thunderstruck in 16 seconds, this is telling you, hey, guess what? In 16 seconds, everybody's going to take AoE damage. Okay? It's really important. You need this up here. You've got all this empty room. Let's get this a little bit bigger. Now, you do have it set up in a similar sort of fashion to how I do. Is as Thunderstruck starts to wear down. 10, I think you have it at about 5 seconds. I want to say 5. I want to say 5. It moves down to here, so it's about 6 seconds, right? So 6 seconds. We have a lot of tools to prepare for this damage in order to be a good Resto Druid. It doesn't matter, okay? A lot of people are like, well, other healers will cover it. We want to be that guy. What we don't like is when, oh, other healers will cover it, so it's no big deal. No. We need to be that guy so the other healers feel bad in our presence. If you're relying exclusively on somebody else to cover your job, then, you know, you're the leecher. You don't want to be that guy. You want to be the guy who's like, well, I can't really do anything because Mr. Awesome over there has got this shit, right? He's got it in the bag. So we're about to get Thunderstruck in 5 seconds. As you can see, we had a couple of rejuves ticking. We had 3 there and 1 on the tank, which is cool. And by the way, this is why we need to track this. Because quite literally, we just let our HOTS fall off the tank all the time, man. Really, all the time. We just can't afford that to happen. And we don't seem to notice. You can see we're moused over our tank. And we're just kind of drooling around. Get our rejuve back on. 1 second. And we are absolutely doing nothing in preparation for this damage. You can see, now Thunderstruck's about to go off. We're not doing anything at all. There's Thunderstruck. It's appearing. So now we've got a big visual clue. In fact, we move from it. We get ready. But we got 1 rejuve up, ready. Then we... Look at this lucky fucker here. Look at this guy. Got his own Swiftmend. The melee didn't get shit. Tanks didn't get shit. That Swiftmend with that efflorescence that will heal 4 or 5 people. They didn't get it, but this guy, what's so special about this guy that he gets it? Why is he the gangster? I don't get it. Why did we just seem to click him straight away and we're like, oh, I need to swift mend. Right, I've rejuved. Swift mend good spell. Swift mend good. Must do swift mend. Swift mend some guy. But we're not thinking about it. It's just a little bit of brain power, a little bit of thinking. And I'm not calling you an idiot. It's all about just planning it. We had 16 seconds or so to plan this out. It's like, oh, okay, we're going to get Thunderstruck in a minute. I better drop that efflorescence on the melee. Because they're all grouped up and we're all spread out. So, you know, it's just not the cool thing. So we efflorescence in. We drop the wild growth like a boss. Then we start doing things like this. And you can see we're just throwing out rejuves after the fact. This is the issue that we run into, especially if you are a hot class. If we are a hot class, we cannot just be throwing out rejuves after the fact. We want them ticking when the damage comes. We wanted them ticking now. Now we've got a rejuve on, then we go and rejuve this guy who's already full health. All his healing's just gone to waste. There's just no purpose for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. So I'm going to go to here. And we need to make sure this is ready. We need to make sure this is ready. But before that, everybody, get ready. Oh man. Yeah, we backpedal a lot. We backpedal so fucking much. Let's not do that, right? Let's strafe that sumbitch out there. Let's strafe that sumbitch out there. Let's do that, okay? We do backpedal a hell of a lot. We do backpedal a hell of a lot. We just need to be aware that, you know, I can kind of see what you're doing, but it's just, you can see how slow it is. It's just ridiculous. And it's also about getting in position. Is while we do all this, we actually don't cast anything. It's important. It's actually, although, you know, it's got a little comedic element to it, we actually don't do anything while we're doing this. We don't cast any spells. We're not preparing for this tank to be moving. We finally stop. Then we shoot over and start getting some heals going. But what we can see is the raid is dying. What we know is that when Lei Shen is going to be moved, this is a golden opportunity for Resto Druids. Look at this slow incoming damage that all the raid is taking. We should have been in position. We should have been in position at the very beginning. We should have been ready for this movement. We should have had hots all over these guys. Then we're doing our job, right? Our other healers, which is kind of sad because one of them is another Resto Druid, and I believe the other one is a priest. They're okay. The other Resto Druid is clearly superior in the fact that he can do what you're doing, but he's ready for it more. He's more than ever prepared for what's going on. But we should be the guy who's in position, receiving the raid. We're receiving the raid and we're keeping everybody top tough. We want to be ahead of the game so we can heal while they're moving, which would have been really so much better. About there, your rejuve fell off your tanks again. It was a bit earlier on. And then again, another Thunderstruck. We're just not ready for it. We're not ready for anything. We really need to drill into your heads that you need to know the encounters more than anybody else. You need to. It's okay for DPSers to say, well, that spell doesn't affect me, so I can in fact ignore it and maybe even remove it from my boss timers. As a healer, if it causes damage, you need to know when it's coming because you need your spells to be doing work for you. You really need to go with that. You did, though, have wonderful Innovate management, which I actually really enjoyed. I did because I'm a super nerd. This happens again. Again, if we just let this play out, I'm going to let this play. Is you see our tree bro here is taking names because he's ready for the movement. Look where he is. Look where our friend is. He's ready. He's moving ahead. What we should have been doing is been around here by now, ready to receive this raid. Getting hots here. Like to have seen a lot of rejuves, but instead we ended up tranquility. We used our tranquility because we were unprepared. We used our tranquility because we were unprepared. And we don't like that. We don't like blowing a cooldown because we were unprepared. We don't really like that whatsoever. What we actually want to see is things like we had wild growth ready, we had a swift man we could have dropped in the middle, and we had rejuves ready to go. He had all these tools. He had all these tools ready to go. All these tools. And we ended up blowing a big cooldown because of it. And it sucked, right? It really sucked. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that whatsoever. We don't like that. This is a funny moment coming up here. Chelsea, it made me laugh anyway. Is this awkward moment. Every Resto Druid's experienced it. Life Bloom about to run off. Just recast Life Bloom and miss it. That sucks. Just recast Life Bloom. Oh, I totally missed it out. I wanted to comment on this at 2:58 actually. So I just want to skim through this one. It's more the basic stuff. is we did this stampeding roar to get everybody out there. In my own mind, I kind of think this is a waste. You guys know why I think that's a waste? Why I think that's a waste? I actually think this stampeding roar is kind of a waste, but not mainly. It's not a huge waste by any means. It's not a huge waste, but I kind of felt it was a waste. It was a waste for me because we ran away from the raid where we could have been throwing hots on multiple people while everybody else got into position. Which would have been really nice, is just to throw some hots. You can see that there's people damaged all over the fucking place. It would have been nice to do that. And on top of that, for me, when you're thinking about something really important like stampeding roar, you have to ask yourself one big question. Will this increase my raid's DPS? I think that's the most important question you have to ask yourself when you're going to use something like stampeding roar, which has a big cooldown. It's a wonderful cooldown, and the fact you used it is 2 thumbs up, which is 2. Is it going to increase my raid's DPS? That one isn't. Getting back to the boss, though, yeah. Getting back to the boss would certainly have increased your raid's DPS. It's a minor thing, but it's always worth thinking about as a druid. If you're going to stampeding raw people, is it going to increase their DPS? Because that's what you want. You want your raid to be doing more and more damage. If your raid sucks at getting to the other side of the room, then maybe not. But if we're just going to get here eventually anyway, and it's not going to cause us a problem, I would like to have seen that returning. We do turn into a wipe now, which kind of smells. Well, we backpedal around a little bit. It kind of smells. We're just throwing our rejuves around. But we lost the monk, and then, of course, we move on to later in the fight, where more and more people drop. And it's a wipe, unfortunately. We finally used Nature's Swiftness. I was kind of worried. You never used Ironbark, though. Be aware that Ironbark is a wonderful tool while the raid is moving, right? Your tank's going to take all that damage. As a druid, not only can you fully hot that bastard, so he's going to be fine. You can get in position, so you can keep heals on him. But Ironbark's like a really, really good cooldown to use on tanks. And it just went unused. We kind of want to use those tools. We want them to be ready. We want them to be ready on cooldown. In general, we just need to be more aware of the encounter. We're a hot class. Our hots need to do work. What we're doing is waiting for damage to occur, then trying to heal it up. It's not really the best way. You want to set up the situation as a Resto Druid. You want it to be ready. You know this big AoE is coming, so let's get some nice hots ready to go. And then we can Wild Growth and Swiftmend and do all that good stuff. And all we want to do is just prepare for it. Otherwise, when we try and heal the damage afterwards, by the time we've got our hots on, that person is either dead or they've been fully healed. Generally, that's how the game works. They've either been fully healed or dead. We need to be miles better with what's happening in the fight. So much better with what's happening in the fight. And really think about using focus target on your tanks and switching focus target. Just to make sure that we can track them hots effectively. They fell off all the fucking time. They fell off all the fucking time. And we don't really do that. I timed out Ghosty. Like, all I could see was bizarre words being spammed. I timed him out. It was me. It was me. Now we're going to get a little bit ham. Now we're going to take it old school. We're going to be looking at an Unholy DK. Unholy DK. Who's pretty good. He's pretty good. But he's running into various issues. And plus he's never really had... never really played Unholy before. Never really played Unholy before. And it's one of those things where you switch to it and everything seems fine, but we forget our basics. A lot of things go wrong about Unholy. Fester Blight is a word that's thrown around all the time. It really is. Constantly being thrown around. Fester Blight and these tricky things. Just forget about those things. Please, for the love of fucking Christ, just forget about them. If you look at the numbers that actually gets produced from these niche, twatty specs, it's just garbage, right? You're talking like a 1% increase if you play it perfectly. Ugh, just let it go. It fucking sucks. It's such a waste of your time. It really is. Things like that get fixed. You're just wasting your time. You really are. And doing other things would get better. So we're going to look at the UI first of all and get into it. So anybody wants to point out anything they can or want to about the... check your numbers, Rusty. You're out of date. What do you think about this? What do you think about his UI? It's a lot of buttons. A lot of buttons. Is there anything you think tracking boss spells is too small? I wouldn't agree with that. There are a couple of things here which I really, really like, and there's a couple of things that I think just don't work at all. I don't know what this is doing. These are all tell me whens, etc., or even just simple buttons showing up on the cooldowns. This Soul Reaper actually really annoys me. It annoys me because it sits there and it's doing nothing. And it's always kind of nice to track that, but for me personally, tracking something like Soul Reaper with a tell me when is kind of better for me. I like that we're tracking Timmeh. This is our Timmeh icon. Now this is going to become important later on. And these are all our procs. We're looking at our big damage. Our dots is this. Our dots is this. It says we've got 53 seconds. We've got some time on it. Let me see how it works. Yeah, 30 seconds left on it. It's some dot tracker. And you can see he's also got it above the target. So we can see that there. And these are tell me whens of cooldowns that in fact show. It's an interesting idea. I've had the idea of playing around with this. I tried it on my warrior. Is I only show things that are on cooldown. So if they don't appear, then they're off cooldown. So let's, for instance, say on my warrior I had something like Shield Wall. So when Shield Wall was on cooldown, I could see that it was on cooldown and how long was left. If it wasn't being shown, then it was ready to use, and that was to reduce all my buttons down immensely. I ran into a very simple issue with that, is you have to check all the time. And I actually think that's really detrimental to your play. You have to check all the time whether or not it's there. You have to look and see. And it actually caused me the problem of checking it backwards and forwards. Now, I'm not disagreeing that with some practice, you can, in fact, make that work. But for me, no. I don't like this tell me when, and I don't like this style. It's such as Anti-Magic Shell is a good example. He's not going to use it for a while. Anti-Magic Shell, like there. So you can see the cooldown of Anti-Magic Shell is there. You're going to have to check that every single time in order to see whether or not it's off cooldown. So as you can see, when it comes off cooldown, it in fact just disappears. It just disappears. It's interesting that some people make it work. Some people make it work and they're fine with it. But for me, I found myself, when I tried this out, just checking all the time to see if something was there. Whereas if it was available to me, it was just there. It was there and it was gone if I couldn't use it. Which I found more easy. I found it much simpler to do that. So we're going to be looking at various things here. We're going to be doing one simple thing. Now, the basics of Unholy DK. What is the basic rule of Unholy DK? Does anybody know? Rast, you should know this. The basic priority of Unholy DKs. We have a #1 priority in pretty much all cases. And it's really, really fucking simple. Okay? Really, really simple. Dots. Timmeh, our pet. That's the big basic. This is one of those things that people run into when you read too much about your class. When you try and do something a little bit iffy. This guy isn't trying to play Festa Blight, by the way. We're playing Standard Unholy. Which we're tracking procs. We've got all this shit up there. All advanced stuff, right? We're tracking every little piece of the puzzle. We're tracking cooldowns. We've got a nice UI showing us good information. We're making use of what spells we have. And doing all that, we just goof up the simplest fucking thing in the universe. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that, which is looking after Timmeh. Timmeh is your pet, your ghoul. As an Unholy DK, is an enormous source of damage. And the basic rule, super basic, before you start tracking potions, before you start tracking weapon procs and trinkets, before any of that shit, the most important thing as an Unholy DK is to make sure Timmeh is as powerful as possible, as much as possible. That's it. Super basic. If you're looking after him, you're going to be okay. You're going to be alright. You're going to do some good stuff. We don't have things anymore like snapshotting ghouls, right? Our gargoyle. Doesn't work like that anymore. It updates dynamically. As long as we're not being retarded with it, you're going to be okay. You're going to be alright, okay? It's no longer... That little bit of complexity is gone, which kind of annoys me a little bit. But what I want to see is just the basics. Now, we don't do that, okay? So, the simplest way of looking after him, if we get about... Let's go to there. Let's go to there. As we're playing, what we can see is we're tracking Timmeh here. So what this is saying is, hey, in 10 seconds, my Dark Transformation is about to wear off. What any Unholy DK should always be practicing is the simple art of making sure that as soon as that runs out, we can spam as many Death Coils into the boss as possible. You should be looking to build your runic. We don't do that. We play this sort of derpy way of doing things, which is quite simply use whatever's off cooldown. Kinda sucks when you do that, especially with Unholy DK. Use whatever's off cooldown, because if I'm not doing spells, if I'm not casting spells, then I'm doing rubbish damage. Not with Unholy DK, okay? There are times when Unholy DKs get global cooldown locks, but in general, you can actually pre-plan the future really nicely. And all we're doing is saying, this bar, this Timmeh bar, should be enormous. This one should be a big one. It's a really important. And as you can see, we're just not doing that little basic thing. So we've got 8, 7, 6. We even regained some runic, looking sharp, but then we go spamming off those death coils. Literally 1 second before it comes up, we can't cast one. So Timmeh goes ahead and he runs out. We're on 0 runic. We got 1 shard up, and it takes us fucking forever to get back up there. It really takes us absolutely forever to get back up there. So we're still on 1 now. Now we're on 2 stacks. We're spamming whatever we can, and we're just not giving priority for this. We're just letting it slide. Now we're on 5, but we've used the Scourge Strike, and we're not palming it off, and there he goes. That's a huge delay. I can't even express it to you, guys. It's massive. You can't do that. You need to be getting 3 death coils in immediately after. If you get a sudden doom just before, you just save it for a couple of seconds, and as soon as it runs out, you go boom, 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 and you power this bad boy up really fast. What you don't do is sit around on your ass and let it delay. It's really a bad habit to be getting into. Another big cooldown that we use really randomly, and I wish he was here, but I haven't seen him in the chat. I have been glancing, is Empower Rune Weapon is an awesome ability. Empower Rune Weapon, if you're not sure what it is, reactivates all your runes, gives you some runic. Basically, it just allows you to go complete turbo nerd mode. And we do enjoy going turbo nerd mode. We really do enjoy going turbo nerd mode. Here we go. Going turbo nerd mode is really awesome, but we use it here. Now this is directed at the person who did this. These are all his trinket procs. In fact, we use this ability as just at the most weird, inopportune time. We've just used it actually. I've gone a little bit too far back. There. That's when we used it. I don't know what the thinking process was here. I really don't know. You've got a 5-minute cooldown. You can see it there. It's a big, badass, motherfucking cooldown. This thing hurts. And we used it at what I can only consider to be the worst possible time. We had no procs up, so we weren't going to do mad damage. And we just fire it off. That's it. We just fire it off, and we just use it. It's almost as if we forgot about it. And some of us have been there before, where we forgot about a cooldown. We've done that, right? We've done it. We've forgotten. It's like, oh shit, that's still off cooldown. And we just fire it off randomly. Well, if you forgot about your cooldown, fine, you goofed up, but let's not waste it for any reason, right? Let's not just go around throwing this son of a bitch away. We don't want to do that. Or go to a blank screen. That would be crazy. We don't want to do that. Yeah, this Empower Rune Weapon was so bizarre. Now, this is where things get a little bit tricky. As you can see, Timmeh's on 12 seconds down, coming down to 11 seconds. The time that this takes to happen is just fraught with problems that we cannot run into. Now, it's not a problem so much with our just played Unholy. It's more a problem with our decision. So we've let our pet drop off now, right? Okay, so you can see we're actually refreshing this now. You can see Shadow Infusion stacks there. That started around... I put the timer in here. It was about 2:30, I think, actually. It was about 2:30. No, 4, 3, 2, 1. So about 2:40. About 2:40, Timmeh runs out, and we start chilling, and we're doing some damage, and we're doing work. Okay, we're starting to stack our Shadow Infusion up, and we're doing our business. Get our death calls in again. Nothing special. Suck. Nothing special. We're just taking our time. And then he procs, and he flies away. Okay, I kind of get what you're going for here. I kind of get it. It's like I can't attack anything with Timmeh, so I shouldn't. But you have done this fight before, and this phase is not the time to be delaying Timmeh. And we goof up really badly here. We goof up really badly. One, we pop AMS. Now, one of the big comments I would say is if you're an Unholy DK, you should be so aggressive with your AMS. Anti-Magic Shell is a DPS increase. No doubt about it, right? Anti-Magic Shell is DPS increase. As long as you're taking some magical damage, you should be really aggressive with it. You should be pumping the boss full of fucking... asking him to burn your ass. You want this boss to burn you because you're going to get damage from it. We goof up this entire section so badly. We leave Timmeh there, and then not only that... we run the fuck away from the boss. All the way to where he's going to land. I fucking detest this. Because Unholy DKs aren't pure melee. We're not. We're just not pure melee. We're not like that. It's just not the way we work. Death Coil really hurts. Death Coil really, really hurts. It's a very powerful thing to do, and we have, because of Anti-Magic Shell, full runic power. We have everything at our power. And what we see, and should be a big giveaway, is our Hunter and our Moonkin are still DPSing. Now, we cast Army of the Dead here. We didn't cast it at the beginning of the fight. I assume this may have been a burn phase. And we still just activate Timmeh, and we wasted all that. And we just stood around, and I didn't like it. I wanted to get Timmeh out there because we're coming into the fight with a full runic bar that we're kind of wasting. Let's fire some stuff off. Let's just get it in there. And really cool. Let's get it in there and start fighting. So now we got him up. We're kicking ass, and we're taking names, which is all good. Where was it? I want to go to here. Which is about there. Is we just delaying the pet again. I know I seem to be droning on about the pet, but it's so important is that we could have fired him off ages ago, but we're using our runes elsewhere, and we're just not doing anything, and we're stood around here, and God, it's so painful to watch, because it's so much free damage. We're focused on silly things like making sure our cooldowns and all this. We've done so much work into making sure we can do all the really good stuff, yet we just don't do the simplest thing. We don't do the simplest thing that we could possibly do, which is just the huge amounts of damage that we're totally capable of. Huge amounts of damage. And we sit here with Timmeh just sitting around, doing his thing, just being really chill. Really, really chill. Now, we carry on like this. Now, there's a few areas that continue on. Where we're just doing all our work, and we're doing okay. Again, this Soul Reaper thing I really dislike. I want to skip on till about 6 minutes. And then we're going to see one of the biggest errors that Unholy DKs make, and it's because of DPS macros. Anybody call it before we get there? All the Unholy DKs, the good ones should know what it is. The big mistake that all Unholy DKs make when it comes to their DPS cooldowns and goofing it up pretty badly. And it's coming up in a moment. Around about here. Yeah. Unholy Frenzy and Bloodlust. Yeah, macroing DPS. A lot of people enjoy macroing DPS spells together. I get it. I do. It makes life easier. It doesn't always work out the best doing that. Okay? It's a real big thing that some people... I mean... I'm asking a lot of people to do a lot of things sometimes when they're new to the game. I get it. You got to take it one step at a time. Once you're comfortable with the game, you should not really be macroing cooldowns together as a rule. In most fights, it's fine. In fact, with most classes, fine. But you should also be ready and ready to go to have them separate, because it works out better for you. A lot of people think about warriors using cooldowns all mixed together. Doesn't really work. A lot of people have things like, what's a good example there? The Bleed, I can't remember the name, the Warrior Bleed. The Warrior Bleed and Dragon's Roar. They're both on the same cooldown, so they use them together, although you're actually missing out on spells doing that. You're actually missing out on damage by doing that. That kind of thing just doesn't work, right? It doesn't work together. You need to do it separately. Bloodbath, okay? You need to do it separately. This is one of those moments. We're about to Bloodlust, and it's just going to cost us DPS. That sucks. We don't want to cost ourselves DPS. Boo! And there we go. We pop on. We get Bloodlust, Unholy Frenzy, blah blah blah. Go and pop all our cooldowns, and then we use them all instead of just delaying it. Just delaying it those few seconds until after Bloodlust gives us so much more DPS. Oh my god! Keeping that Unholy Frenzy ready is always a good fucking thing to do. It's always such a good thing to do. Why no Death and Decay? Why did you not Death and Decay here? Why? Why no Death and Decay? Why didn't you do this? Oh, Soul Reaper gets used plenty. It's okay. It's actually the Soul Reaper thing is kind of like this one. Don't Death and Decay. And okay, interesting. Why would you not Death and Decay all 4 of these? All 4 bosses are stood here. You're AoEing them. Why wouldn't we Death and Decay them? Am I being a noob? I could be a noob. I'm okay with that. Why wouldn't we Death and Decay all the things that have landed all over us? Oh yeah, okay, so I'm right, you're wrong. These DKs in my chat, baddies. so we've had all these fucking mobs land. And yeah, they've all landed all over us. And we didn't go balls to the wall fucking AoE. Why the fuck didn't you? Why? You make me sad, man. It made me really sad to see this. It made me really, really sad to see that. And I don't want to do that. We should be doing more with that. One last thing before we go away is when we're in this mode that a lot of you get into is use whatever's off cooldown. It's kind of good for the basics. The basics is use whatever off cooldown and we're going to be fine. Runes play a little bit differently because what you use your runes on is different. Right? They power different spells. They do different things. One of the big fucking problems that Unholy DKs do by accident, and we've all done it, but it does happen a lot throughout this video, is it's around 240. I actually missed it in my notes, and I want to come back to that. Is 238 here. This is actually a nice add-on. It's similar to the one I use. I prefer mine, just saying. This is really bad. This is really bad. What we're doing is sacrificing 2 Scourge Strikes for a Festering Strike that we don't need. If you don't know what I'm talking about, is these Death Runes. We can use them on anything. What we want to use them on is Scourge Strike. That's our big heavy hitter. That's the better target. Festering extends our diseases, but slightly weaker than Scourge Strikes, right? It's weaker than Scourge Strikes. But what we're doing is we're kind of in a fucking... Our fingers are tricking us. Our fingers are telling us what to press. But we're not paying attention to our runes. And... we're not paying enough attention is the big thing. I think we're trying to do more. If I could take anything away from this video, I think we're trying to do more than what is needed to produce good numbers. A lot of people... I'm not saying this is the case here. There's a few basic errors that go in here. The big one is the pet. If you take any away from today's video, it's pool runic, get your pet up faster, everything else will fall into line. What I'm seeing a lot of is people trying to jump ahead. Because what I try to do is accelerate you through the basic stages. That's what my main aim of my channel has always been, is to accelerate you through the basic stages. And the more advanced things start to become easier to handle, they can take them better. What a lot of people try to do is go, oh, well, I watched this bit, so I'm going to jump to the end and start doing the advanced stuff, because if I do the advanced stuff straight away, I'm going to be really good. No. The advanced stuff leads you to tiny, marginal DPS increases that all add up. The basics are your 90% of your damage. It's the big thing. The advanced stuff, the way you start going to sites and you start reading in-depth math about whether or not you should do this or this at this time in the fight, leads you to the extra 1 or 2% that will separate the men from the boys in later stages. But people who jump straight to that just fuck up all their basics. They fuck up the stupidest things like not getting our pet up. We're working so hard to maximize certain spells that we just forget really stupid, obvious shit. What I find is that when we do that, we just become complacent and relaxed, and we make silly errors on a regular basis, such as using death runes. We're not paying enough attention to our runes, so we use our death runes on that, and then we get back into the habit of using our runes elsewhere, where all the time we could just be doing more damage by sticking to our absolute fucking basics, right? Is using X spell over Y spell going to give me a 2% damage increase over an enormous fight? Maybe. Keeping your pet up is going to give you 6 or 7%. Right? And it's the easier thing to do. It really, truly is. Lots of little errors here adding up, but get back to the basics. Forgetting your basics is a big telltale sign that you're rushing ahead of where you are. Unholy is a wonderful spec. It's so gorgeous because it's actually really, really quite simple, and you can take your time with it. You can take your time with it. Despite the 1 second global cooldown, you can completely take your time with it. What I just want to see is a little bit more relaxation, much more aggressive use of AMS, and really just paying a little bit more attention to just your pet. You should spend an entire raid night or LFR. If you want to fix these kind of problems that you're having, spend an entire LFR, do 4 or 5 of them, and just go, I don't care about anything else right now, I just want to make sure that I get my pet up as fast as possible. Warlocks and things do the same things. Like, how quickly do I actually generate embers? How quickly can I generate demonic fury? How quickly can I do that? And you just spend an entire raid doing that. LFR, for all its faults, is wonderful for that. Because you can test things. You can work these things out. Just go in there and set yourself a nice, simple goal. I want to get my pet up as fast as possible. World of Logs yourself. I've done a video on how you can do that. It's super easy. What was my uptime? Play without trying or play normally? Check your uptime. Or go into go into your guild's world of logs and say, okay, for this fight, what was my uptime on Dark Transformation? Now I'm going to do an LFR, and now I'm going to check what my uptime is my pet when I actively try and keep him up. And notice the fucking difference. Notice the difference, because it'll be huge, okay? You can try this with any class. It's very important. That does, in fact, bring us to the end. 40 minutes, not bad, not bad. That brings us to the end of today's workshop. Any questions regarding tonight's subjects? The healers and our wonderful Unholy DKs out there. Any questions that you're having? I would love to answer any if you've got any. That was awesome. Cool. Cool. Although you should AoE Rusty when you get the chance. It's always good. It's always good to do that. Yes, you do have 50% off your spells things. It'll be up on YouTube tomorrow. So your advice, I'm trying to see what every major stuff wrong. I randomly told level 80 Warlock. Oh, you're trying to help people. Scary. That can soulstone and prevent yourself from dying. Turned out he's a heroic TOT rating lock. Just a friend's luck. And he ended up helping you. That's good news. Quick warrior question. Anything about tonight? Anything about tonight? The priest heals video I cannot download, unfortunately. I've tried and tried again. If that priest who has sent me the video would gladly send it me again or re-upload it, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Why not like life bloom, and then reapply? That's a good... You have to be pretty advanced to pull that off. You'd have to be pretty good to pull that off correctly. Because you're costing yourself 3 globals and 3 globals reapplying Life Bloom. Is it worth it? That's the question. Is it worth it? The healing in general is better if you just reapply it, especially as Life Bloom automatically extends by casting a single target heal. It's really sort of tricky stuff if you want to let that happen, and you must have a good fucking reason to do it. You've got to justify the fact that you've got to use the globals again afterwards, and you've got to justify the rather large heal that comes from that Life Bloom. Yes, it blooms for a fuck ton. Is it worth all that? Is your tank at 95% health? He doesn't need that kind of bloom. He doesn't need it. You'd have to be a pretty good player to pull off a successful and worthwhile bloom of Life Bloom and justify it. What is best to check up time and hots and dots if World of Logs isn't an option? There isn't really that I know of. Well, I don't know why World of Logs would not be an option. Anybody can do it. It's completely free. Works on anything. But I haven't tried anything else. Isn't tracking his Horn of Winter? That is correct. It is in my notes. He did not track Horn of Winter. Great source of runic power. Well spotted, Mr. Rasty. I didn't bring that up in the video. Is AoE just D&D and Blood Boil? I'm playing Unholy for Tortos. In general, yes, but it depends on what you do with your death runes, okay? Unholy has a nice rotation, which is either extended AoE or short-term AoE. Short-term AoE is generally where you spam and spam and spam and spam. And if you want to go long-term, it takes a little bit of trickery in controlling your runes. But in general, yeah, if you're going to just be spamming a lot of Blood Boil and spreading diseases and stuff. Be aware, though, if you're taking Roiling Blood, if you're spreading really shitty diseases all the time. To do various hands. I'm starting to say, would you advise against starting a DK and getting to 90 for cash-making purposes? I would never advise doing anything in this game for cash-making purposes. You can make as much cash as you want on any character. It doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. Is it a DPS increase to use D&D all the time? No. Absolutely not. It used to be. It's not anymore. Okay? Don't use D&D in your single target rotation. If you have a second mob that will take some ticks, and I'm talking very few ticks, then D&D is better. But if it's just a single target, then no. Then no. I was not the druid. Is it best to keep Life Bloom on the main or the off tank? It's best to keep Life Bloom on the tank that is taking damage. There is a glyph of Life Bloom. You should all have it. If you're playing Resto, which means if you Life Bloom a different target, it moves all 3 stacks. You want your current tank should have every hot so you can throw it in all the time. They are doing their best effect. And it stops that dip and yo-yoing health, which is pretty cool. Does that apply for Blood as well as Unholy? It should do, yes. Rep Paladin? If I get someone, I haven't had a Rep Paladin one in ages. In ages and ages. I'm still enjoying WoW, very much so. I played a lot of WoW today, playing a lot of Hunter stuff. Okay. Am I not boiling in that honey? Actually, no, it's gone quite cold. It's gone quite cold. Alright, I'm going to take a quick break, guys, and then I'm going to be streaming some games. I'm not even sure what I'm going to play yet, but I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Thank you so much for a great workshop. Hope that helps out. Remember, if you have a workshop to send me, just email it to workshop@preachgaming.com. Okay, and I'll see you tomorrow for the daily. Take it, e-ballers, and I'll see you again.